start recording this. All right, we are viewing Will Pritchett's screen. All right, welcome everybody to the Real Estate Group of San Antonio. I'm Rick Pozos, the frugal real estate guy. We have Will Pritchett and Veronica Pritchett talking to us. Yes, they are husband and wife and team and partners and friends and everything else to us and to each other. Well, they're not married to us, but they're friends to us and friends to each other. So thanks guys for coming out, and go ahead and take it away. Tell us about your journey of buying houses and amassing what do they say? Amassing a big portfolio.
All right. Well, thanks for having us, guys, and Rick. We're, as he said, Will and Veronica Pritchett. This is the name of our business here. You can see that screen okay, I hope. I'm not super tech savvy, but Home Again Properties is our business. That's our blog at the bottom. If you want to read about our little journey, you can subscribe there. And I try to post little updates in the real estate community from time to time. I'm a firefighter, and I am at a fire station right now, but I'm not on the clock, so your tax dollars aren't paying for this. I had 3 hours of vacation, so I changed clothes and just decided it was better to stay here. So Veronica and I have never presented in two different locations, so this will be interesting. When it's time to change the slides, babe, just like shake your head subtly, and maybe I'll get the hint or something. So we started this about 7 or 8 years ago. We met Rick. We got married. We turned my bachelor pad into a rental to prove the concept, and the rest is history. I can get a little long-winded on this stuff, so I want to leave room for questions. I'm going to move. And Rick, you may have to kick us off at the end of this, because I can seriously talk about this real estate stuff. Home Again Properties, our concept is we take old houses and we make them homes again. And the idea of the home being, more important than just a house. And we take a lot of pride in our tenants. So that's where we got our name. And we really try to kind of stick to those values of creating homes for people, not just a house. I'm a firefighter, and Veronica was a teacher and then an assistant principal at a large comprehensive high school here in San Antonio, or multiple high schools. She was able to quit that job and go full-time into real estate, which allows us to see a lot more of her and have her around, and we do like her and we like having her around. So that's really the life-changing power for us, and that's why we can talk passionately about this business. We met Rick early on in the journey. I'm not even sure how we met him, but he gave us advice starting early in this journey. We've remained friends throughout. And the networking in San Antonio is pretty amazing. People share their, quote, secrets pretty freely. I thought it was going to be much more competitive, and it's much more collaborative. So we owe a lot of our success to just networking and learning from other people. And we like presenting like this because we feel like we finally might have something of value. I know some of y'all have done more deals than we have. Some have done fewer, but we're all going in the same direction. And so we believe in the power of synergy and just helping each other out through the journey. There's plenty of deals for everybody. So really like this environment where we can ask each other questions. Buy and hold is our focus, and we are buying. Every once in a while I get cold feet and I say, Veronica, are we buying at the top of the market? And she says, well, we've been buying at the top of the market since we started. We had people try to deter us from buying early on. We stayed the course and stuck with it. I tend to be the more cautious one of the two of us, and Veronica's more aggressive, and let's move forward. Let's grow this thing. And I'm grateful for that. We think there's deals in all set parts of the market cycle. Buy and hold is strongly our focus, but we have gotten into some private lending through an IRA and some owner financing as well. We started by borrowing private money and saw how beneficial that was to the people we were borrowing from, and we decided to lend from our IRA. So keep that in mind as you get further into this. If you want to lend or borrow or co-lend, that's another avenue here within this network of people that have some education. And to me, educated investors are lower risk investors to put your money with. So Veronica is our project and property manager and master of systems. Pretty much makes me wonder why I'm here. most of the time because she gets it all done. She started not knowing the parts of a structure, and now she runs these multiple renovations at the same time sometimes. And she's about 5 feet tall. You can't tell right here. She'll tell you 5 feet 3/4 or something. But she'll go around and put those big construction guys in check and keep an eye on things. So she's pretty awesome at that. She's also the property manager or manager of the tenants and has a whole class on that. She's developed a lot of great systems. And she's a mother of our kids, and she keeps us all moving in the right direction. So having her around more has been just a real godsend that we feel real estate has played a big part in. I source private money in deals primarily, and put out fires on occasion. The private money has been a real aspect that helped our business grow. Finding the deals and looking at deals. We really both do that. But it's one of my focuses. And then our kids, they're involved in this whole thing. They go look at these creepy houses. They can tell you if a foundation's unlevel now just by feel. And one of them is even lending some of his birthday and Christmas money to us, and we're paying him a little return just to start teaching that idea of delayed gratification and what the power of interest and compound interest can be. So that's been kind of cool that every month on the 1st, he gets his interest payment for lending to our business. We kind of follow a philosophy that Veronica's dad taught us, that the best thing we can leave our kids is the ability to survive without us. And we strongly believe that. So we want them to learn something about money management and investing along the way, hopefully. And we were seeking cash flow. We were doing the BRRRR things. Like Polo mentioned, we started doing BRRRR strategy, and we were after cash flow, and we realized that we did create some cash flow, but what we created much more than that was equity by adding value to each of these properties as we renovated them. So it was kind of a surprise to us. It wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be. But one of the things when I was putting this presentation together for Rick particularly is Rick is really good about keeping things real. He doesn't make it an overnight, you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow. He believes in frugality and hard work, focus, and being honest about these. So I put a couple of videos in tonight's presentation that are very real, that I don't know that I've ever shared before, that maybe we'll put that in perspective. But another part of that being real is that the cash flow we thought we were going to get for rentals wasn't as profound as we thought it would be. But the equity blows us away when we see how much has built up. So just an interesting fact there about building your rental portfolio this way through the BRRRR strategy when you're adding value. All right, Veronica, you want to pick up from there?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Rick, for having us. Will and I always love any time we get to share about what we've learned along the way. So we decided to go with buy and hold, and excuse me, full disclosure, I was not excited about rentals at the very beginning. Will was all in, and when we looked at the equity he had in his bachelor pad, I thought, why would we not sell this house? I mean, we could really use this money right now. And he was really determined that he really wanted to turn it into a rental. And what convinced me was that at the same time, I was looking to see how much we needed to save for college, and quickly realized that by the time Nathan graduated from school, this house would pretty much be paid off, and then this house could help pay for his school. So that's how I got into this, how I bought into this whole rental business, and from there it was history. We just so we decided we wanted streams of income over piles of income. So we do flips about 2 to 3 a year, but our primary focus is the rentals because we like the stream of income. Now, going to closing for a rental is not nearly as sexy as a flip, right? You're not going to have a big chunk of money wired into your account. But what we do walk away with is a property. And now a tenant is going to pay off that property for us. So we're going to walk out of that closing, hopefully making $300, $300 to $400 gross cash flow. And then what we underestimated when we started was the pay down on this property. My screen it went away.
Oh,
I got a phone call and it went away. Okay, there it is. Sorry. My dad was calling me and my screen fell and it went away. So that P, right, and the principal pay down is what Will was talking about. So the tenants are paying off these properties, so our equity keeps growing, and then these properties, because we're in San Antonio, they're appreciating and the pay down, and so now that equity keeps growing with us with very little effort. So that's been really exciting that we've been able to utilize lately, and we'll talk about that. The cheap financing we love with the conventional lending, and we both had W-2 incomes at the time, so that was just the way to go, and we were able to refinance these properties with a cheaper financing. The tax advantages are crazy. We're not CPAs, but the more we do this, the more we realize it's just insane, the tax advantages, and when we have buy and hold real estate. We were after the long-term wealth when we started this. We both liked our jobs. I liked being a school administrator. So really we were looking for college savings, a way to supplement retirement. So we were looking for a long-term wealth in that aspect. But now, we just fell in love with it. The freedom to travel, we love, that's our primary focus is we love the flexibility that it allows us. So we love to travel. We're all about experiences. And this last summer, our plan was to go to Japan, but of course that changed with COVID. But we did get to spend a month on the road in the U.S., so that was super fun. So that's why we like buy and hold. And the reason we like to talk about, as cliche as it sounds, you really have to find your why, right? Because there's lots of different ways to go in this business with real estate, and there's lots of different asset classes and ways to invest, and you really need to know your why. And for us, buy and hold was it just made more sense for us. It was the closest way we could get to passive income with our salaries, with being an educator and a firefighter. So that was our shoe in. How we built this. So this could go on forever too, but we started off really slow. We didn't know any better, and we started off with a 20% down, very conventional way to start in this business. And that's what we like presenting, because now with what we know now, our business didn't really start to grow until last 4 or 5 years. But our very first rental was in 2011 with Will's bachelor pad, and then we saved up 20% of the first rental property. We put that down, and then we found the BRRRR strategy, and that's when we were able to move a lot faster and acquire a lot more properties quickly. We proved the concept. So like I said, at first we were a little, or I was hesitant, but the tenant left the house better than the way, when she moved in. And we never heard from her, and she paid like clockwork. So we didn't, all the horror stories that we hear about why not to invest on rental properties, that was not our experience. So we definitely wanted to do that again. So then once we both were in and we decided this is really what we want to do, we really immersed ourselves. And actually Will was already immersed in reading and listening to podcasts, but that's when I really started really educating myself on real estate. And so we've read a lot of books. We still read a lot of books on real estate, listen to a ton of podcasts, but the key has been now networking for us. The key to growing our business, finding deals, finding money, just knowledge has been through networking, through different meetups, through different RIAs. So we always like talking to people. And somebody, we talked a little bit about marketing, and I've heard before that all marketing works. And I think that's true. I think the thing is just to be consistent, whatever you choose, because there's all sorts of different personalities. Will's strength is networking. He can go out there and he loves talking to people. He likes to talk a lot. He would go and he can walk into a room and talk to everybody there, and that was just not my strength. But I learned to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and now it's fine. But really networking, we were consistent about it, and that's how we were able to meet people, and that led to deals, that led to money. Always making offers. So I often hear people say, oh, the market's so hot right now, I can't find a deal, or, and so my next question, my follow-up question is, well, how many offers have you made? Right? So it's always making offers. So the wholesalers that we have a really good relationship with, they know that if they bring us a property, we're making an offer, right? It might not be what they wanted, but we're going to always make an offer on our numbers, whatever the deal works for us, however we can make it profitable and fit our model, we're making an offer. The BRRRR strategy, we teach a whole class on the BRRRR strategy. If you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend it. That's what's been able to help us grow our business and buying these properties with very little money out of our pocket. It is true. It's not just, you hear all of these advertisements, right? And you think it's too good to be true, but the BRRRR strategy is insane. So it was a way for us to be able to acquire all these properties with very little capital. We learned our strengths and weaknesses. So like Will said, I didn't know anything about construction at all. And so naturally we thought Will would be our project manager. He knows construction. He studied structures. And we quickly realized that was not his strength. Because it was more project management. And remember, his strength is talking to people. So he would talk to all the contractors, and then he would, take a very long time at all of these projects where I love project management. And so I love to go in there, and I like puzzles. And so I can put it all together. And so I really enjoy watching the process, seeing the whole process. So we had to learn our strengths and weaknesses. We have our roles, and we're really good about staying in our lanes most of the time. We built trust with wholesalers, sellers, and private money lenders. For us, we're very relationship based. We really, that's how we have wholesalers, the handful of wholesalers that we keep relationships with. We check in on our sellers. We have closed on deals where we were not the highest offer. It was just because they liked us, because they trusted us, because they knew we would actually go and take it to closing. So it's that building that trust in this business. It's really important. And with the private money lenders, it's crazy. Will has done an outstanding job with that. I mean, he just sends a text and they're ready to wire the money over. So all of that was done through building relationships. And then I would add our tenants too. We have very good relationships, professional relationships with our tenants, and that has helped us through COVID, I feel, as well. Will, what did I miss on this slide?
I think you hit all the points. I think building trust is important. The only thing I might add is always doing what you say you're going to do. Always try to see the other person's perspective. And I always say I'm the world's worst salesperson, but when we negotiate with sellers, we don't apply pressure, and that for us works. Some other people may find other methods of sales that work, but we've had multiple sellers come back to us months later. And just like Veronica said, we weren't the highest offer, but they trusted that we would come through. And in the intervening months, we were giving them other options to solve their problem. So if you put that other person first, it's just kind of human relationships, I guess. You don't have to be a salesperson. I'm certainly not one. And sometimes a seller gravitates to Veronica. She has sellers oftentimes, calling her mija and telling her they love her. and other times they talk to me. It just kind of depends on who they gravitate towards. So that's just my advice on negotiating with sellers. Oops, let me see here. Okay.
So this house is really special. It will, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Will, but we'll put this presentation together. I normally put them together, but he did it. And he put some, after this, it's some really good videos, and I'll tell you why. But this house is really special. So this was our very first true like investment property, right? Like that's the one we saved 20% down, and Will's working a ton of overtime. I'm working as a school administrator, and we're putting every penny we had into a savings account because we wanted to buy that first rental. And so we saved up our money, and you know, we bought this off the MLS, a realtor that knew that we were looking for a rental, and he brought this deal to us, and it needed baseboards and carpet. And so that's why he put Chip and Joanna Who, because we thought we were it. Like we were like, wow, this is a big rehab. And, you know, we thought for sure HGTV would be calling us because it was a big moment for us. What's really cool about this house recently, so this we bought like in 2015 or so. And from after we bought this house, that's when we learned about the burst strategy. So we thought, well, let's see how much equity we have in this house. And we did a cash out refi and pulled out some of that equity and bought more real estate with it. But now the equity we were able to pull out, and using the burst strategy, we didn't really need that much capital. So, you know, it was great. We were able to buy more real estate. Well, what happened with that was with the property value, this one's in the Northwest side, in the Great Northwest area. It's appreciating pretty high, pretty quickly. And so the property value is going up, and I go and protest every year, but still the property taxes were going up, not keeping up with the rent that I needed to charge, right, in order for it to cash flow what we wanted it to cash flow. But because it's appreciating so quickly and the tenant's still paying down, we still had a significant amount of equity. And remember, with the burst strategy, the bank's going to loan, you know, 75% of loan to value. So you still have at least minimum 25% equity. The tenant's paying down the note, the mortgage, and it's still appreciating. So we still had significant equity, but it wasn't really cash flowing what we wanted to cash flow. So when we looked at this property, we kind of saw it as debt equity. So it's, what do you do? So what we did this last year, we decided to sell it. And once the lease was up, we didn't renew it. And that was hard because the tenant, you know, she really wanted to stay, but you know, we sold it, and we did a 1031, and that was our first 1031. It's been an awesome experience. So it's a 1031. We were able to sell this property, roll that equity into a triplex. Now that triplex is going to triple the cash flow that we were getting from this house. So now that equity is providing more cash flow each month. We've improved the triplex slightly. It really didn't need that much. So now we're going to cash out, refi the triplex, and pull out some of that equity tax-free. That's insane to me. I still can't, you know, I can't wrap my brain around it. Like, I just can't. That's where I think like the power of real estate comes in, when you hold these properties and you can utilize that equity to squeeze out more money each month. And that triplex is still going to be paid down. Oh, and another cool thing with the triplex is that we negotiated, because we have, you know, do these deals and learning and everything. With the triplex, what's cool about small multis is that you have these sellers that are trying to avoid or defer that capital gains tax, or if they're not a primary, if it's not their primary residence, they're subject to that capital gains tax. So that means they're more likely to owner finance. So she was willing to owner finance, and we negotiated for her to owner finance at 0%. So we have really fast debt pay down, right? Now it was only 1 year, but still in 1 year we're going to be able to pay, and our plan is to refi anyway. to pull out some of that equity. So now our equity is really growing with that 0%. And we're able to, so this is where it gets really exciting. This is when I can talk about real estate forever and the power of buy and hold real estate. We say it's changed our lives, and it's no joke. Like, there's no way we could have done this with just, you know, our salaries.
Yep.
I can wants to say something. It's weird for not presenting in the same room, because normally he'll like shut, you know, like, I want to say something.
No, it's a good story. That seller financing, you don't know until you ask, right? And having negotiated down the price, we had a pretty big down payment. I think that helped. But before we refi with the bank, I'm going to ask if they want to extend the seller financing, and we'll up the payment. I mean, free money is hard to come by. So we're going to, before refinancing with the bank, that's the next thing. So applying multiple strategies to one deal can really amplify it, I think. So in keeping with what I think I mentioned earlier that Rick's really good about, the good and the bad and the ugly of real estate, I want to show you a quick video. I probably won't play the whole thing, but I was going through pictures for this presentation. And for those of you who've never done a renovation or haven't done many, we, again, thought we were Chip and Joanna when we did the paint and carpet on that other house. And this is an example of kind of the other extreme. We found this house and it was nicer than most of our houses. And so this is kind of as we were first walking through it.
All right, so this is the inside the front door of the house we're just walking around. I mean, this is crazy. We don't buy houses that are this clean. We just don't do it. These cabinets are fine. We'll probably put some new hardware on them, maybe paint them. Probably replace the countertop. It's got a dishwasher. It's got a nice electric oven and stove. 2-car garage. Fireplace. You can see some of the settling. The sheetrock is cracked. This is the stick down vinyl. This is the floor we probably would have put in this house anyway, and it's in great shape throughout. You can see some more of the cracks here along the drywall. Again, our power's not on yet, so I'm sorry for the poor light. So this door frame's kind of racked a bit. So these are the things you just have to be willing to take on in San Antonio. If you let foundations scare you, you're going to rule out a lot of good.
So that's probably enough of that one. But just, you can hear my nice enthusiasm and super excited about these great floors. The paint's good. And then we'll fast forward. So that's the good, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Here comes the bad and the ugly. Let me see if I can figure out this.
Oh.
You'll hear the panic maybe in this one.
This is the kitchen at Evanswood. All the dirt from under the foundation. And the walls that had to be dug. All the rain, we still have water in some of these holes. Waiting for it to dry out. Can't be afraid of a little construction. This is the biggest foundation job we've done.
So that you can hear the anxiety there, right? That's when you walk through there and you get winded climbing over piles of dirt. It was a weird period where we had a ton of rain, and the foundation guys were like, we really don't want to take this dirt outside and it turns to soup, so we're going to leave it in the house. So we're climbing over it, and I'm seeing like muddy handprints on that nice paint. The floor I liked was gone. We did know it had foundation issues, and we had gotten a bid, and the bid came in right for the foundation, but we had not estimated for new paint. We had not estimated for the back deck that was torn up to put piers around the exterior and then replace. So definitely some unforeseen expenses there. But back to good, here is the after. So it can come back around, but we don't, sometimes I think on the TV shows, old Chip and Joanna make it look a little bit easier, you know, and it just comes around, the numbers always work. And, but this is just a typical rental for us. We didn't change the light fixture, but we painted the cabinets. We left the countertop. Great tenant lives there, hassle-free. The house has remained stable since that foundation. repair. The foundation cost us about $18,000. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. There was only a slight plumbing problem, but it was outside of the foundation. So it was a kind of a minor fix compared to what it could have been had it been center of the foundation. So just a little good and bad and ugly of house renovation that I thought I'd share there. It's kind of dramatic. After we put those pictures on Facebook, people were like, do you need an attorney? And they really thought we had one pulled over on us, but we bought it knowing that, and we just priced it in. Probably didn't price in quite enough, but it's a cash flowing rental today. So I do it again. Risk, just getting used to risk. It's, higher reward typically comes with a little bit higher risk, but how we can manage our risk is just some bullets here is like buying at a deeper discount offsets your risk. Having cash reserves offsets your risk. If you have time to get inspections or foundation inspections, maybe full house inspections as you're getting started, it's probably a good investment of $300 or $400. We've since, a lot of times we're buying houses, we don't have the luxury of getting a full inspection, but we've got this little DeWalt laser level, and we'll put it on the floor and shoot it across. Usually our 8-year-old's just as accurate as far as telling us if the foundation's off, but if she's in school or something, we'll rely on the laser level to tell us how much drops in the foundation, just to get an idea. But you're going to take on more risk when you don't have those inspections and so forth, and you're making cash offers. We would recommend starting with cosmetic rehabs because it's what we did. Maybe if you're really versed in construction, you feel more confident, but just getting a kind of a simpler one done help build the confidence to move on to the next one. Moving quickly minimizes your costs. So having your contractors lined up and not holding the private money loans longer than necessary. Through COVID, we had some banks back out and we had to hold a private loan longer than we normally do, and definitely felt it. We paid some extra interest that we probably shouldn't have, but it was unforeseen circumstances. We still came in with all the compliance with the loan, but it just was an additional cost to us. And then just educating yourself. There's so much free education. In the chat earlier, we were talking about the Big Dog program and lifestyles. And, I've heard good things and bad things about both of those groups. We go to Alamo RIA. It's a lot cheaper, but they don't hold your hand. It's more of a networking and with some classes. Some people want more direct connection to somebody that's going to mentor them. And some people can get by with books and podcasts and groups like this. So we haven't paid for any high cost education. We kind of feel like in the world we're in with free information everywhere, we would educate ourselves. But that's not to say you shouldn't. It's different needs for different people. We totally would understand why that could be helpful for someone to speed up your education and organize that for you. So those are some ways I think that you can reduce your risk if you're getting started. And then kind of where we're headed, from our business, our original goal was 10 units, 10 doors before we retired. Veronica's since quit her job. She's not retired by any means. She works really hard on our business, but our next goal is 30, but we don't think we'll stop there. We can't see just sitting around doing nothing. But 30 is the next goal. We're always going to buy single family homes in San Antonio, but we're also looking for some more fourplex type, buildings all the way up to about a 20 unit apartment building. We're interested in kind of scaling up and maybe bringing along some friends with us in that endeavor. So still love single family, always will love single family, but also want to look at some multifamilies. We're going to continue to lend our IRAs out on safe and low loan to value deals. We're probably a little more conservative than some of the hard money lenders, but we're also probably a little cheaper than some of the hard money lenders. So if you have a low loan to value deal or something you're willing to put in some capital in, keep us in mind. And we're co-lending. We recently had a loan where we had a family member that wanted to co-lend with us so she could have some confidence going in with us. She kind of got cold feet at the last minute, and we were able to call a friend, and they jumped right in with $30,000, and we funded the deal for another investor. So that's a kind of a cool option if you don't have enough to loan on a full project, or you want to go in along with somebody to share the risk. That's something that we're kind of dabbling in now as well. So keep that in mind. And then how to follow what we're up to. We have our Facebook page. That's where we post most of our stuff we're learning there, as far as pictures and so forth. And then our blog, I try to keep current with lessons we're learning along this journey and adventure of real estate investing. So where I send out the things that I write or the resources or the meetups that I know of, I'm trying to get better about putting the meetups like tonight's and email it out to my mailing list there. So if you want to keep up there, I don't sell anything. It's just if you subscribe, you'll just get emails in your inbox. And there's both of our email addresses if you have any specific questions for us. So, like I said, we could talk for about 3 more hours, but we wanted to keep it moving for you guys and then have some time here, hopefully, to answer some questions. If y'all have any questions for us, this would be a great time.
So usually, how much equity do you accumulate in the property before refinance?
Usually it's about 25 to 30% in what I call created equity, just by the improvements we've made. We don't, because the bank is going to loan us probably 70% loan to value. So in an ideal BRRRR type property, we're going to need to create another, 25 to 30% equity. Sometimes they don't come out perfect, and we do end up leaving a little bit of money in them. But even in an imperfect deal, we'll leave 5,000 or 10,000 is a lot better than 30 or 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works.
Okay, thank you, Will.
Sure.
Miss Veronica, do you do property management for other people that have properties, or is only your portfolio?
Yes, that's a good question. I'm asked that often, but no, currently I'm only managing our properties.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I think you need to be licensed to have to manage other people's properties, just so everybody knows. I'm pretty sure you do, if you're getting paid. If you're not getting paid, you can do whatever you want.
I am a licensed realtor, but I'm with Stepstone, and so they need like additional. There's like each broker needs like an additional type of insurance. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my dad keeps calling into my.
Well, she's.
Am I not on?
No, you're coming back.
You're cutting
Okay.
out.
So I don't know if I got cut off. I'm with Stepstone, and so I had been asked if I would manage other people's properties, and so I looked into it, and apparently the broker needs like an additional insurance, so I would have to get that insurance, and then like I could work under them, and so anyway, but really honestly, I'm really focused on growing our portfolio, so that keeps me really busy right now. What I envision is hiring somebody because I really like our system. And so it'd be really hard for me to hire a property management company because I would want to tell them how I would want them to manage it. So I thought, why not just hire somebody? We really like our system. It works. And so maybe then after we have more doors and I have help, then, with property management, then maybe, but it's not a focus right now. But I teach a class, I share all of my information. I share forms, I share everything. And honestly, I think it's a good experience. I like I said, it's kind of part of my personality. I like systems. I like seeing the chaos and then organizing it neatly. But I completely respect that that's not everyone's personality. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with hiring a property manager, but I do think it's worth, if you're starting out, at least managing your first couple just to really learn all the ins and outs. We've bought properties from tired landlords, and a lot of them had property management companies managing their properties, and they were just done. They weren't making any money because they were charging them for so many little things. So it can go on and on. So I think it's definitely worth learning it, so you know what to look for in a property management company anyway.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So I have started doing a little bit of not exactly driving for dollars, but going around and checking some neighborhoods that I may want to add properties in my portfolio. And I have started seeing these signs that says like, mi barrio no se vende, like my town is not for sale. Are you guys developing any kind of a specific strategy for those communities? Have you have any kind of a issue that you have bought a home and having trouble with the neighbors, or if you have a tenant, the tenant being, I don't know, harassed or molested or so, any inputs into that? I was surprised how many of those signs I saw in houses in some areas.
That's such a good question. Well, did you want to take it or you want me to?
Go for it.
Okay, so this is partly my opinion and partly my experience. So San Antonio varies drastically. I mean, you cross the road, right? The whatever, and the neighborhood's completely different. So when we rehab a property, I research that immediate neighborhood thoroughly. And we're only going to make the improvements that match that neighborhood. So what's happening is you have these investors that come and maybe don't know the areas, don't know San Antonio, and they're going to go with whatever's on Pinterest or whatever's on, you know, whatever you Google, whatever's on HGTV, and it doesn't match the neighborhood. And, you know, so like you go to the South Side and they're super proud of their neighborhood. They like it just the way that it is. They don't want it to change. And so what's happening is their property taxes are increasing. These property values are going up. So yeah, they're really against going in there and improving. Like you know, at first it's like, what? But we're making the neighborhood prettier. But it's, no, they like it. To them, it's not prettier. To them, it's just, you know, they like it the way it is. So San Antonio has gotten really strict on permits. So you have to be thorough and pull all the permits for any rehab, because yes, the neighbors will be the ones to call first ones, because they do not want their neighborhood messed with. They do not want their neighborhood improve. What we would, you know, maybe an investor would consider an improvement. To them, it's not an improvement. They want it just the way it is. So yes, it will be. So just be diligent. Pull the permits is an easy process. It's not expensive. So definitely pull those permits and just do everything. Just do it the right way, and you wouldn't have to worry about. And then also, whenever we buy a property, we go and knock on all the neighbors' doors and we tell them who we are and what we do. And because we're going to keep it, more than likely, we think it's important to get to know all the neighbors and let them know who, you know, what we're doing, and that we take responsibility for whoever we bring into the neighborhood, because that's an extra set of eyes looking at our property.
And we can maybe buy their house. That's been the source of some deals too, knocking on those doors. And so, you know, the neighbors are less of a problem if you own that house too. So we've bought a couple across the best deal we've probably ever bought was across the street from a deal we were working on, just from knocking on the doors and introducing ourselves. So,
okay. Thank you.
Sure.
More or less, can you share your properties? I know the first one was one that you moved out of, and then I guess you did that again also. But kind of tell us a little bit. It started in this year, and then in this year we bought 3, and this year we bought 5.
Veronica, do you remember the years? I know the first one was
more or less.
The first one was a bachelor pad when we got married in 2011. And then we saved up diligently for probably a year for that next one. And it was a lot. And when I worked overtime in the fire department, when I work a shift of overtime, it's like I end up being away from home 3 out of 4 days, you know, straight. So it was a sacrifice because I was a new dad and really wanted to be around my family. That's why we're doing this, you know, but I had to sacrifice on the front end. So we did that. And then about a year later, say 2012 or so, we bought that one, the Chip and Joanna house, 2011, 2012.
It was like 13 or 14, yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we bought the next one the next year. So we bought one year and then another one the following year. And that's when we really learned the BRRRR. And then we bought.
After the third house, we quit doing the 20% down. So we put our W-2 money and our wages into that. After that, we haven't put any of our W-2 money in the business. It's all been either BRRRR, flips, or the business, funding itself. So that's been kind of nice. So we could then live off my salary more and just reinvest from the business. But then it got to be more like 2, 3, 4. I think we did 7 one year, something like that total. So right now we're at 20 doors of rentals, and we've done maybe a half dozen flips or so over that time. Again, private money being key to it all, and then just the confidence to borrow, to ask for it, to borrow it, to pay it back. And then as those lenders got more confident in us, they're asking us to go find deals. So that was a game changer.
It was really exciting when I was able to quit my job, because I was working a lot of hours as a school administrator. After 2 kids, it just got really crazy. And so when I quit my job, we hadn't replaced my income when I left. But what's really cool is that now we have, and we're not limited, right? That's what's so cool about this. And we just keep growing as much as we want it to grow. So that's really exciting. So it's real, like you hear about these things and read about it, but it can actually really happen.
Just takes lots of time and some sacrifice.
Absolutely. It's not a passive, it's not, like the syndication deals, as Veronica mentioned earlier, and I think Luis mentioned syndications. Those are awesome. They are really passive, and great returns and great tax benefits, and a lot less work than this. We didn't have any money to put in a passive deal. It wasn't even an option for us. We could not have come up with $25,000 or $30,000 when we started this. We were married with a 2-year-old and an infant. I guess he was 4 and then a baby, and we're just getting by like everybody. We didn't have a lot of extra money. We didn't choose high income careers. We liked our careers. We liked them. So we had to figure out other ways, and that BRRRR strategy really was the ticket for us. I know there's a lot of ways to do it.
Oh, well, Veronica, if y'all could go back to 2011 with the knowledge y'all developed and all the books you've read, what would you do different? Would you change anything, or would you just keep it the same way?
Man, good question, Greg. You might want to take this, Veronica, the first half.
Go ahead.
I would have been more aggressive earlier. So we had a friend that was a property manager and a broker who was like, man, the market's going to crash. It's going to tank. And we've put everything we owned in that first house. And we're literally like, man, we're down to no money in the bank account. Like, we're down to that. And we've got these 2 rentals in our house. And so we were scared, I guess. But as now, if we had the same confidence we have today, hindsight's 2020, the market didn't crash. Those deals we bought that we were kind of mediocre MLS deals, I'd give my right arm for a couple of those right now. Like, inflation has happened, appreciation has happened. So yeah, I think I would have moved a little bit faster earlier, but it's easy to say that now. I'm glad it went like it did. We didn't suffer any losses. And, if we had grown really fast and the market had corrected, we might have been hurt by growing too quickly. I think that's possible, to grow too fast. So I guess probably a little more speed on the front end would have been the biggest change I would have made. I still would have done buy and holds. I think if I'd started even earlier, I would have started with a house hack. I think that's a strategy that, young people that don't have a lot of money but have some flexibility in how they live, maybe they don't have an established family yet, I think house hacking is an awesome strategy. I've got several friends doing that. So that's my take. What about you, Veronica?
Yeah, I think with the knowledge that we have now, I think maybe saving the conventional financing for small multis that are to really maximize that cash flow. The single families are super easy to sell. You're always going to have a buyer for a single family house, you know, or more buyers, right? So to me, putting those in a commercial loan is, you know, it's easy. Like if if the 7 years come up and for whatever reason we can't refi, I feel pretty confident that we can sell a single family. So that's really the only difference. And then, yeah, definitely a lot more aggressive. We would have definitely been a lot more aggressive, but just with the knowledge we have now, that's what we would do differently, I think. But I love single family because even then, I mean, like I see them as like really good, solid savings accounts and with very little effort. Like once I get a tenant in there, it's like we never hear. And then we have systems in place. So if something breaks, they're not calling me, they're calling the contract. I have a whole system for that. So I rarely hear from them. And so, but that I love watching that count grow, you know, without us having to physically put money into savings account. I mean, that equity just grows. And now we're constantly evaluating each property and seeing how it's performing. So it's like, okay, well, how about we now sell this one and roll that into something bigger? So it was good way for us to start.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good question, Greg. Yeah, we would do what y'all are doing, growing fast on the front end.
Yeah, y'all are doing it right.
I'm on your side. You're young.
The reason I asked that question was for the ones that have not got started. I think it's good to hear from guys like people like y'all that have been doing it for a long time, 9 years, and just getting that perspective if they want to like build long-term wealth. I agree. Like house hacking is a great way to start it slowly if you don't have all the funds or means to start growing it quick. But I think if they get started, if you're in a buy and hold strategy, that's definitely a great way to do it. And Veronica, with the single families, I agree. I think they could be a little better. Now, of course, you can increase your cash flow with the multifamily, small multifamily. And Alejandra gets calls all the day with the, you know, with duplex, someone is a little too loud on the other side, right? If, you know, common wall and getting that little phone call. And I'm sure you don't get those because you have that one tenant in that single family house, which is kind of nice to not get those calls, you know, every hour or so.
Yes, they all have their pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brittany's written a question in the chat. It says, what is the determining factor of whether to flip or rent the property for y'all? You know, I don't think we've bought a single property that we intended to flip. They were like, we think we'll rent this. And then the market was appreciating quickly. And we were kind of reevaluating like, man, we can make, it's not going to cash flow that amazingly, but we can make a nice chunk of capital. So would you agree with that, Veronica?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is maybe it's an awesome deal, but the house is more than 2,000 square feet. I don't want to keep it as a rental because of capital expenditures. It's going to be a bigger roof, more carpet, more paint, more everything. So I don't want a rental that's a single family rental that's going to be more than 2,000 square feet. But if it's an awesome deal, I know I can sell it, especially if in San Antonio, if it's under 350, we can sell it pretty quickly. But I still probably wouldn't do a flip in that price range just because we want to know that if the market crashed, you know, I guess we're maybe more conservative and thought, well, I need to at least break even on a rental if worst case scenario. But yeah, we like to keep them under 2,000 square feet for our rentals.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. We had one on the south side that was kind of a bigger house, and we found some comps that support a higher rent, but we just didn't have the interest in it at that price point. And we'd done rental grade improvements, but it turned into a great flip. But we always kind of think we can flip them, rent them, or Airbnb them. You know, multiple exit strategies is kind of what we're
finance too.
Or finance them, right? So we kind of like the safety of that having multiple exit strategies options. Speaking of owner finance, there's a guest post coming out on the blog soon by somebody in this Brady bunch of squares we're looking at. So if you subscribe, you will get a cool article coming up about owner financing and the benefits of that. We had a really cool experience last week. Our first and only owner finance deal to a contractor invited us for dinner. And he made mojarra frita, which is like a whole fried fish. And it was this delicious meal he prepared in gratitude for us helping him. He's working his butt off he's doing the work, but we helped him get his first home, and he's improved the value. It's the inside of it is like a completely new house, and the foundation added a bathroom, and they're so proud of this house. And so that was a really feel good moment a couple weeks ago from an owner finance perspective. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity in that strategy as well.
Yeah, Greg, one more thing I'd like to add on something that I wish would have done sooner is when we started off, we were so laser focused on just rentals. So maybe we passed up on some good deals that were owner finance or good flips, but we passed up on it because we were so laser focused. No, we're buying hold. And I guess it was good because we learned it really well. But if I were to start over now with the knowledge now we take any lead, we consider any lead because, and then if it fits our model for a rental, we're definitely going to keep it. But if, maybe it's in a lower appreciation area or, like that one that we owner finance, I'm so glad it was perfect for owner financing. I wouldn't want to keep it as a rental. And then likewise for maybe a more expensive property, it doesn't fit our rental, we can flip it. And before we weren't open to that. And so now we're able to process more leads, I guess.
We kind of forced ourselves to limit our options because we did get the shiny object temptation. When you go to these RIAs that have some national speaker that talks about assisted living homes, and then the next week it's college rentals, and the next week it's flipping, and then it's wholesaling, it can be overwhelming. So we regularly force ourselves to stay focused. And so that can be a good or a bad thing, I guess. I think what Veronica's saying is it was a good thing for us, but we did definitely pass some opportunities that we probably should have looked deeper into. So for whatever that's worth.
How do you get over that, slump? Because right now that's where I'm at right now. It's gonna be like my second year in being a landlord, and it was fun and everything, finding deals, making offers and everything. And then now with pre-COVID, now post-COVID or during COVID, I was house hacking. All my roommates left, which I'm not underwater at the house. And then my rental is the one that I was telling you about, and my tenant, is going to leave in December, but he's asking me month to month. Sometimes I'm like, man, this is not as fun as I thought, but I'm still making offers, still pushing. How did y'all push through? Because y'all were mentioning that, y'all had those 2 rentals and nothing in the bank or whatever.
We put every bit of rent money into an account to have a cushion, and we did not want to. When we decided to do rentals, we were so focused that I quit putting in my retirement accounts that were in my voluntary retirement accounts, and that went in an account called rental property. We put every penny of overtime into the rental property account. Every rent check went in that account. Mortgages were paid out, and that gradually grew. That gave us the ability to not be completely stressed. A few months into that second house, when the water heater broke, we had some money for it. We'd rather not pay for it, but it was cost of doing business. So you have to believe in it, I think, and just stay the course, keep talking about it. We talked about it with all our friends, enthusiastically at that, not just, you hear these landlord nightmare stories. And I always say I would never lend money to someone that says, I have to tear up my worst tenants. They kick holes in the wall. Would you loan me $100,000? Probably not. So we try to talk about it like we experience it. We have great tenants. We screen them. We have great tenants that are paying for our kids' college and for our future. It's not a confrontational thing, and we love the business. So I think it's attracted private money and some other things just by talking about it. We tell people we're looking for houses to fix up. And then someone in our network says, hey, I've got an old house that I inherited. Would y'all be interested in looking at it? Of course we would. So I think it's keep talking about it, keep learning about it. I listen to podcasts to stay motivated in those lulls between deals, just to keep the energy up. And I post about our deals on Facebook to let people know, keep top of mind that, hey, if you found an old house, Jose's buying. Remember, Jose had that post about that house he looked at the other day. He said he didn't buy it, but remember he showed that. And I think our social media presence is like your modern day resume. So take pictures of the houses you're looking at, talk about real estate, add some educational posts to people that might be interested in doing it. And you'll attract that energy. We've spent about $400 or $500 on traditional marketing. Most of our marketing has been word of mouth through networking. So try to keep, if you can get yourself to really believe in it and stay focused on it. It isn't a fast way to wealth. It's a slow way to it, but it gets there. And you know, we get discouraged by our cash flow, and then we look at our principal pay down each month, and it's getting to be more and more significant. But it starts by those first two, and they get easier and they get easier and they come quicker with time. So you are kind of at a hump, but I assure you that if you keep at it, you'll get over that and the momentum will build. But I was just talking to a guy earlier today. He said, I had 4 rentals, I sold them all. And I thought, God, why would you sell them all? Like, what would they be worth today? We often say, you never hear people say, I sure am glad I sold that house 10 years ago. You hear people saying, I wish I had that house I had 10 years ago, because it would have been worth X today. And that's our whole game, is in 10 years from now, are we gonna be glad we have these or not? So if you need some encouragement, you give me a call and I'll give you a pep talk, because I love this stuff. And that's what I pride myself on, helping people just like where you're at, get over that hump. Because I had people tell me, don't do rentals. It's a pain. You can't make any money. And it discouraged me for a lot of years. And then I got around people that had had success and got around the right people, and we had success. So stay doing these things, keep coming to these events, keep yourself, you know, fake it until you make it kind of thing. You'll get there.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Veronica, there's a question here in the chat. Veronica, I think you would be good at answering. It says, any tips on how to find good contractors for BRRRRs without wasting their time and turning them off from working with you? Also tips on how to vet them. That's from Jamil.
Wow, good question. So the contractor, right, that's a hard one. I've been through a lot of contractors. So I think the best way to find contractors is through networking like this. You know, that's how I find most of our contractors I found through other investors that I trust. Now, with that said, the people, right? And so because one contractor worked really well for one investor, and that was one of us, was that we tell the story about this granite guy that Will says almost killed us. This huge man was really mad at me. But he was recommended by somebody we really trust, but he did not work well with me. So, so I think, but that's a start. So it's talking to investors, getting recommendations from them. And then I was spending a lot of time going to the properties, checking on them, and then they wanted to be paid. And so now what I do is I have everything in writing all the time and detailed, and then I have them itemize every single thing. And then I say, okay, how long is this project going to take you? 4 weeks. So I know 4 weeks really means 5 weeks at least, right? But they tell me, okay, it's X amount. So whatever that amount is, I divide up by the 4 weeks. And then they only get paid on Friday. And so they're not calling me wanting to get paid. They know that payday is Friday. And so I go to the property, and if they've done that percentage of work, they'll get paid. They never get paid for work they haven't done. I hate it when they ask for 50% upfront or whatever. It's like, no, I'm paying for the materials, paying you for labor. So you're only going to get paid for the work you do. So it's being really just really firm on the contract, on, you know, what I get everything in writing. And so we have a great crew now. We have a great, you know, licensed electrician, licensed plumber, licensed HVAC guy, and then our regular handyman. And part of my tenant training process, when I go and speak with a tenant, I give them these guys' phone number, and they know that if the tenant calls, they need to make that repair within 24 hours. And they have a green light as long as it's under $200 repair. And then they just email me the invoice. So I never have to hear from them. I just get the invoice and then I pay it. If it's more than $200, now they're calling me and we're having a conversation about it. But it took a long time to develop this crew. I went through a lot of them, and it's knowing that they're human, they're gonna mess up, but it's really determining, like, what am I okay? What kind of mess up am I okay with? You know, and for me, it's that they're really honest and they tell me that they messed up. When they try to cover it up or they lie to me, that's it, we're done, we're not doing business anymore. So I had an electrician that was working great. He was a good guy, but he lied to me, and that was it. So he no longer works for us. So it's really, I'm just really firm on that. And it's, I think that's what's worked for us. And so I don't know if I answered all the questions.
You can see why I behave myself. He runs a tight ship. But yeah, how to vet them was another part of the question. I think did, as far as referrals help. Did you have any more to add to that?
Yeah. So another thing is contractors will tell you that they do everything and they do every trade. And so now my question is, okay, well, what's your favorite thing to do? Oh, well, I really like framing, or okay, so he's more of a carpenter. So I know they want the whole job. Also the bid, if there's such a thing as too low of a bid. So if they're bidding it too low, then I know that they really need the job. And if they bid it too low, then I know that it's going to take them longer than what the bid is. So they're going to end up picking up other jobs. And that's really hard when they're working multiple jobs. I want them to be focused on our project, and that's it. So, so it's just talking with them and you know, letting them know the way I work, and then making sure that works for them. And so just having that conversation with them. But honestly, like these guys that we've been using now, we've been using them for a while now. So, that really helps a ton, because that is a lot of work, having to go and find good, solid contractors.
And if they do good, then you use them again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, if they're like the ones we have now, like I'm buying, especially our main guy, like we're buying Christmas presents for their kids, and you know, we're building those relationships. I know I just sounded really mean, but it's really not mean. I'm very, very thorough, and I have my system and I communicate it. But no, it's building those relationships with them. They know they're going to get repeat business. And we've gone as far as giving them a bonus if they've done a good job and finished early. We've done that before too. So definitely fostering those relationships once we find a good one.
That owner finance deal was to one of them,
Mm-hmm.
one of our main contractors. You know, just a way we could help him, because he's helped us so much. So they're good ones are gold for sure.
You guys are big advocates of the Burr strategy, and that was the original plan for me. Right now, I have an owner finance, and then I have an interest only on my other one, and I'm still working on trying to get the Burr. But so my question would be like, how do I improve my credit? I don't want to pay because I know it's something I could do, but I've been trying to, you know, talk to creditors, and it just seems like it's no use.
Man, I'm not a credit repair expert. I think there are people that could help you with that. And I think it's a good investment of your time if you want to take advantage of conventional loans. That's going to definitely help you get a better rate. Debt to income ratio, having reserves, you know, reserves become more important as you get into more deals. But I don't know the ins and outs of credit repair, honestly. I wish I could give you better guidance on that.
I can talk to you tomorrow after work.
All right, cool. Thank you, Rick.
Last question.
Yeah, what does that tenant screening process look like for you guys?
So I teach a whole class on it, but I think our main criteria, right? Like somebody had said about low credit score. Credit's really not a big deal to us, but so they do the whole application and we screen them, and so we're looking for credit. So I say 600 credit score for a 1 month's security deposit, 1 month's rent security deposit with a credit score of 600 or better. If it's below 600, then they're paying a month and a half worth of security deposit. And I've never had a problem with that. They're expecting it. They're used to that. They're fine with that. What I'm really looking for is the criminal background. So I'm looking for like serious, like felonies or, anything violent or sexual in nature. Those are pretty much out. I'm also looking for evictions. So talking about, somebody brought up about the evictions, and I tell, that goes on their record. So that's another thing to tell a tenant that you're about to evict, like that stays on your record, and that's going to be really hard for you to find another rental. So, so I'm looking for, if they've had an eviction in their history, they're completely out. Also, bankruptcies are on there. If they've had to apply for bankruptcy, they probably know, they know the process. So they're probably not going to qualify. Now, there are some exceptions, like maybe it's like some tragic medical issue or whatever, and they've been paying on time since then or whatever. I'll consider that, but more than likely, they're out. So we accept pets, but we charge a $300 non-refundable pet fee and then a $20 a month pet rent. Everyone 18 or older has to apply. They pay for the application. But that's pretty much the screening, the criteria. One really cool thing we do, because I'm all about protecting our time. So before, for whatever reason, because I schedule all the showings and I do all, I fill all our vacancies. So before, I felt like I would schedule a showing and about 50% of them show up. I don't know why, but that just happened. So I was driving out to these properties all the time, and that got old. So now what I do is I list a property like on a Thursday. I let it go live once it's completely ready, like it's completely rehabbed, it looks pretty, it's shiny. I go ahead and list it like on a Thursday, and then I let it sit for a week without showing it. So during that week, I'm scheduling all the people that are calling, all the people that are emailing, I'm scheduling them all for the same time on a Saturday at 10:30 in the morning, every single person at the exact same time. So that creates that scarcity mindset, right? Like out of 10 people that scheduled a showing, 5 of them are going to show up every time. It's 50%. I don't know why, but it is. And so those 5 people are now like, oh man, like they're going to rent it. And so now it's like this, it's like human nature, right? And we'll even park our cars in front, so it looks like more people are there. Kind of like if you've ever been to a garage sale and you see all the cars, oh, that's a good garage sale, stop, like the same thing. So you have all the people there, and almost, we've been really lucky, but we end up having multiple applicants. So that's really worked well for us. So now, and it's hard because some will beg, like, please, can we go see it? Because it's hard to find rentals here in San Antonio, especially nice, clean, rentals. So, and I just won't. And so sometimes they've gone and asked a realtor, and I don't list them on the MLS because I'm cheap and don't want to pay a commission on a realtor. But so the realtor calls me and they say they want to show the property. Then if they show the property and their tenant and their client is going to be our tenant, then sure, we'll pay them $300 commission for going and showing. So I give them the lockbox combination, but I'm personally not going to go to the property until a week later because I want to get as many people there as possible. So it's just, that's what I mean by systems. It's just streamlining it to where I'm protecting my time to make this as passive as possible.
Well, cool. Thank you so much. Lots and lots of great information. Hopefully you got email address. If you want to give them send them an email later on, ask any other questions. Any other last comments, thoughts, ideas?
Thanks for having us, Rick. We really enjoyed it. Austin, you're interested, and you've got some background in SEO. That's real estate. People are looking for that. I know we are. If you reach out to people, that could be your in. We've helped some investors who came with that type of knowledge and just offered to help us. And of course, we're going to reciprocate. So don't discount skills that aren't directly related to real estate. Find how you can help an investor that you want to associate with and learn from. I think people overlook that sometimes. A lot of investors don't have use for a firefighter, but somebody knows SEO and that kind of thing. Like that's a skill set that's very relevant, and technology. So go for old people like me. As Rick pointed out earlier, I was like, I'm going to go brush my hair. He goes, there's not much up there. So he always keeps me grounded, which I appreciate about Rick. But, that's a way that you can get involved with your skill set and find a way to help other investors, and it will come back around. So just something to think about with wanting to get involved and having that knowledge that a lot of us don't have.
Yeah, I only say that because I don't have much either. So
Hey, it's all right.
So I'm
the property management class, what Stepstone, right?
Yes, we've been teaching classes. We teach Burr, Stepstone, and a third one through Stepstone.
Stepstone, Burr, property management, and
It's like general buy and hold presentation.
And
they're like $20 classes
$20.
through Stepstone, open to the public. If you're a realtor, you get CE credit for them.
And they're on Stepstone is on Facebook.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also on Home Again. You usually share it on your.
Yeah, if you follow us on Home Again, we post all that stuff there as well. That's just something we do through the brokerage. It's beneficial, and it's been a good network for us as well.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're a little past. You weren't too long-winded.
That was short for me, Rick. I was moving. We'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for having us. And again, that guest post is coming out from somebody in this crowd, smiling real big right now. So if you subscribe, you'll get that.
Maybe somebody who guest posted online also.
It could be. It could be the same person.
All right. Well, again, I am Rick Pozos, frugalrealestateguy.com. I also have a blog, just like Will and Veronica, and go take a look at it. It is a little bit it's more from the frugal side. It's on the saving side. Both Will and Veronica, professionals making a lot more money than I was making and still make. So I had to be on let me save my pennies a little bit more. And so just, again, another perspective. I tell my wife when she says, this is the way you do it. And I tell her, my way is not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. And so now she tells people too, she says, it's not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. So we need to all embrace all the differences and that's how you learn. So thanks everybody for coming out, and we will see you next month, second Wednesday of the month.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question about your relationship with wholesalers. I'm super new to all this, but because you are focused on.
I'm going to end, but I'm going to leave it. So if anybody wants to keep talking, y'all go ahead and keep talking. Okay.
Because you guys were so focused on building the relationships between all of your the individuals on your team, what kind of big factors when you look for wholesalers or when they receive